I've been called so many things in life: a sales professional, a wife, a sister, a daughter. But right now, more than my name, I am just a mama. Hi, I'm Diksha, mom of two very beautiful and adorable kids, Vivan and Vanya. And today, I just want to talk to you honestly. No filters, no perfect angles, just a really real postpartum conversation about my postpartum body and my emotions. So, if you are a mom or a mom to be, I hope this video feels like a conversation that two people are having and sharing their experiences and knowing that all of this is normal. And how you feel during your pregnancy has nothing to do with you as a person. My first pregnancy, I gained about 6 kilograms, and in my second pregnancy, I gained somewhere around 8.5 to 9 kgs. I know for a fact that on paper, this is barely anything, but trust me, I felt huge during my second pregnancy, like capital mein huge. I was growing. People glow in their pregnancy. I was only growing. And that's something that bothered me so much because I was having stretch marks all over my body, pigmentation. There was so much of water retention in my body that my hands, my feet, my face, everything was so swollen. I just couldn't recognize myself in front of a mirror. I looked at myself in the mirror. All I could see was a different person. I didn't know if it was me. कभी कभार मुझे देखकर यही लगता था कि यार ये मैं हूँ. Is this the Diksha that I know? And that is okay, pregnancy may you don't really feel so good about yourself, and people who actually feel great about themselves during pregnancy, how does it feel like to be God's favorite child? Yeah. And I barely fit in any clothes of mine. So in this pregnancy, in my second pregnancy, मैंने कोई maternity wear नहीं लिया. मुझे पता है मैंने जो फर्स्ट प्रेगनेंसी में मेटर्निटी वेयर लिया था, आई barely used it, and फिर it was like gone out of my closet. It was like gone out of my closet. So इस बार मुझे 2 या 4 कपड़े थे मेरे पास जो already were there with me, and I could only fit in those until the end of my pregnancy, and I felt really comfortable in those. So मैंने ना कोई extra maternity wear लिया, and I used to wear only those outfits everywhere that I went to. Like if it was gynec appointment, shopping, office, anywhere, I used to only wear those outfits. And when I talk about my energy levels during my pregnancy were ground zero. All right. Why would I say that my energy levels were drowned? I mean, were ground zero. So, ek to I have a toddler who's going to turn 2 next month. Then I was also working. Then I had when you have toddler, आपको देखना पड़ता है उसके खाने का, पीने का, सोने का, उसके पीछे भागने का. You have to look out all of that. Then you're staying with a family. वहाँ का काम थोड़ा बहुत हो जाता है. So considering all of this, I barely had any energy left by end of the day, and there were times that I used to go and cry my heart out. कि मुझे समझ नहीं आता था यार मैं क्या करूँ मैं even if I did absolutely nothing, I still used to get tired. So काम करके तो imagine the kind of exhaustion I had. And when you're pregnant with a toddler, telling you in advance, it'll drain your energy out. Toddlers are a volcano of energy, and one eruption, that energy flows out like like that. And it's really difficult to handle a toddler all by yourself. You would definitely need help. And even though I had help, us moms, how we are, हमें तो सब कुछ खुद ही करना है. खाना भी खुद बनाना है, अपने बच्चे को खुद खिलाना भी है, खुद सुलाना भी है, खुद नहलाना भी है, सब कुछ खुद करना है, भले ही you don't have any sort of energy. We just want to overburden ourselves. Yeah, that's me. Overwhelming herself too much with work, exhaustion, and everything. And then later, Jake, she wants to cry at night. Ki, why did I do that? I should have taken help. Tell me I'm not the only one. Please. I know you also do that. Now, let's talk about my postpartum. I am currently 21 days postpartum. So I am already in my postpartum phase. So अभी तक मेरा एक महीना भी नहीं हुआ है. So whatever I have felt in my 21 days of postpartum, वो मैं आपको बता देती हूँ. This time, my postpartum recovery took quite a long time, I would say. During my first pregnancy, I had a C-section. उसके बाद, I made it a mind like I'm going to do everything. I'm going to recover like मिनटों में. And I did somewhat, I started walking early. I did not face मुझे इतनी ज़्यादा scar pain या first walk pain या first poop pain ये सब नहीं हुआ था. It was very manageable for me. And I think उस वक्त भी because I was on medication तो मुझे उतना फर्क पड़ा नहीं. But then even after when I got home, when I was on the over the counter medication, उसके बाद भी मुझे उतना फर्क दिखा नहीं था. I mean, I was आराम से walking around, moving. मैं इधर उधर घूम रही थी, taking care of the baby, doing cooking and everything during my first pregnancy. और मुझे ज़्यादा फर्क पड़ा भी नहीं. I quite recovered quite fast. But in the second one, because I again had a C-section, this scar was the same area where they cut before and वही जगह से वापस से हुआ है. I felt this time मुझे थोड़ा सा ज़्यादा लगा time to recover. The first thing, I did walk within 12 to 13 hours of my surgery. The first walk was very nice. I did not feel the pain at all. एंड मैं NICU भी गई थी अपनी बेटी से मिलने के लिए after my after the first walk itself because my daughter was in the NICU. I went there. मैं 2 बार वहाँ पे जाकर भी आई within the first 15 hours of my surgery as well. I felt absolutely no pain at all because again I was on IV medication, I was on antibiotics, I was on painkillers. सब IV के थ्रू जा रहा था, डोजेज काफी हाई था तो कुछ पता ही नहीं चल रहा था. And I was in a rush to go back home. I wanted to rush back home. So doctor came, saw me. She was like, "Yeah, you're good to go." I was like, "Yeah, I know, I'm good to go." So yeah, when cut, I got discharged in 2 days' time, and when I got back home, that's when the pain started popping up. So because IV खत्म हो गई, medication high dosage वाली नहीं मिल रही थी, आपको medication over the counter measures से लेनी थी, tablets and everything, the pain started coming. एंड इस बार मुझे वियर्ड जगह पे पेन हो रहा था. लाइक आई कुडंट टर्न फॉर सम रीजन. तो मैं दोनों साइड पे टर्न नहीं कर पा रही थी. चलना बहुत मुश्किल हो रहा था. बहुत ज़्यादा वीकनेस आ रही थी जो मुझे फर्स्ट प्रेगनेंसी में नहीं थी. अब आप लोग बोलोगे कि तुमने जीरा का पानी नहीं पिया, तुमने अजवाइन पानी नहीं पिया, तुमने गोंद के लड्डू नहीं खाए, तुमने रेस्ट नहीं किया, उसकी वजह से तुम्हें ऐसा हो रहा है. नो, दैट्स नॉट द रीजन. इट इज़ बिकॉज एक तो मेरे फर्स्ट एंड सेकंड प्रेगनेंसी में there is not even complete 2 years का period, and a woman's body needs about 2 to 3 years to heal from a C-section or any childbirth. So that is one reason that my body was already in a recovery phase when I got pregnant, and then I gave birth, right? So that is one reason that, and plus I have another C-section. The second C-section में first C-section से थोड़ा सा ज़्यादा पेन होता है in recovery phase because you are cutting the same damn thing again 7 layers, and तुम उसके ऊपर और 30-40 stitches मार रहे हो तो obviously pain तो होगा ही ना. So that was the reason. And yes, I mean काफ़ी अच्छा एक्सपीरियंस रहा है मेरा पेन के साथ इस बार. आई वॉज क्राइंग बहुत ज़्यादा. द फर्स्ट 1 week at home, I cried every single night. And I think I have bored my husband with my cries. बेचारा कुछ कर नहीं सकता था. He didn't know how to help me. He tried though, but sad. And yes, I also had, because of this weakness जो इतनी ज़्यादा बढ़कर आ गई थी, I also had a lot of shivering episodes जहाँ मैं काफ़ी टाइम तक continuously shiver कर रही हूँ. But that shivering is just not stopping. मैं blankets ऊपर डाल रही हूँ, but I'm continuously shivering. And then उसके थोड़ी देर बाद, because I'm shivering, and उसी टाइम पे मेरी बेटी को भूख लग जाती है, and I go and feed her, and then I'm sweating, like literally इतना ज़्यादा sweat कि I felt that मैं किसी डेजर्ट में खड़ी हूँ, and this was more than the normal sweat that I usually have. And it was really, really funny to experience both um, shivering and sweating simultaneously within a gap of 1 minute. And I was like, और ये सिर्फ एक दिन होता तो भी मुझे समझ आता. It was happening like at a stretch for 2-3 days. And that's because during pregnancy आपके जो estrogen level, progesterone levels, and your hormones are like flying over the top on the moon, right? But जैसे ही आप birth देते हैं या जैसे it's like ground zero. इस वजह से आपके बॉडी को रिकवर होने में, बिकॉज इट इज स्टिल कोपिंग अप विद द फैक्ट दैट योर एंटायर बॉडी इज नाउ फीलिंग वेरी डिफरेंट, उस वजह से यू फील अ लॉट ऑफ वीकनेस. इट्स नॉट बिकॉज आपने गोंद के लड्डू नहीं खाए या आपने अजवाइन और जीरा का पानी नहीं पिया. मैं तो अभी भी नहीं पीऊंगी. Not that. I mean, no offense to people who actually have it. Good for you. It is actually good, but it was not of my taste. तो मुझे taste ही पसंद नहीं आता था, and something that I don't like, I just don't entertain inside my stomach. Right. So that's the whole reason for the weakness plus the the sweat and the shivering episodes. Now this is one of those symptoms that I faced. Along with that, I pretty much had very less lochia this time. Um, and I'm very thankful for that. When you compare from your first pregnancy or second pregnancy, lochia might be a little different than the first. And I have a very less flow of blood this time, which I'm very thankful about. And uske saath, I also had a lot of postpartum blues. Let's talk about it. Um, Postpartum blues mein kabhi kabhi you are sad for no reason. There are crying spells. You get overwhelmed, agitated. So it's about yesterday. I was trying to put my son to sleep. So ही नहीं रहा है. I was so exhausted yesterday. My feet were hurting. मैं उसको सुलाने की कोशिश कर रही हूँ. Then Vanya is waking up. Vivan was just not sleeping, and I just snapped. मुझे इतना ज़्यादा गुस्सा आया, and I felt so bad later because उसकी गलती नहीं थी. It is just my body acting up, right? And वो बेचारे बच्चे को मैं भी समझाऊँ कैसे. So thankfully my husband took over, and he tried to put him to sleep, which thankfully have worked. And I am proud of you, Vivek, for putting Vivan to sleep. If you're watching it, that's for you, Vivek. Yeah, but yeah, so you have those episodes where you get angry very fast. You don't feel like entertaining anybody. मेरे साथ भी अभी I feel that way. I just don't feel like talking to anybody. Um, I get very overwhelmed. I cry for no reason. मुझे पता नहीं है. ठीक है, मुझे कुछ खाना है और मुझे वो नहीं मिला है. I start crying. मुझे यहाँ जाना है. विवेक ने कहा अभी नहीं जाएंगे, बाद में कल जाएंगे. I start crying. My husband is trying to help me so very much, and I'm very thankful for him. वो हर बार मेरी मदद करने की कोशिश करता है, but you know he's trying his best, but sometimes वो भी enough नहीं लगता. You feel invisible. तुम्हें ऐसा लगता है कि your husband is just not paying attention to you. He's just paying attention to your toddler. That feeling also comes out. And आपको कभी कभी लगता है यार, you have those sort of identity crisis. Like मैं क्या कर रही हूँ, मेरी तो identity ही बस ये बन के रह गई है. You don't just don't get time for yourself. Like आप एक शांति से एक चाय भी नहीं पी पाते हो. Because your baby needs you constantly, and that's okay. You are allowed to feel in a certain way at times. It doesn't make you a bad mother. It's all your emotions. You know within yourself that you love your child, and nobody would love your child more than you do, right? And trust me, इस phase में all you need is not to take any sort of stress and feel you know anything bad about yourself. मतलब अगर आप किसी तरह जैसे मैं I'm thinking about something. I know it is my postpartum phase, but my brain does not really have that control over it. कि I might not like what I'm doing right now. I might not like the kind of version of me that I'm seeing in the mirror, and that's okay. You're allowed to feel bad about yourself. You are allowed to get upset. You're allowed to cry out. But along with this, you're also allowed इसको भी कर लूंगी, but take help when offered. Don't be like me. I have done that mistake in the past. I've been doing it now as well. A well rested mom, a happy mom, a stress free mom is an investment. आप अगर स्ट्रेस फ्री हो, आप वेल रेस्टेड हो, आप you are happy at this time, you are content, that same thing would also reflect in your newborn. Because आपका जो भी your breastfeeding, again, very overwhelming activity, that continuously drains out energy of you. ठीक है, आपको आपको अच्छे से खाना, just pay attention to what you're doing. And I think that's how I have been coping up. I have been eating well because I know for a fact that if I do not eat well, I do not rest well, I do not be happy, or I am not stress free, it will all affect Vanya. मेरा मिल्क सप्लाई इफेक्ट होगा. आई वॉन्ट टू exclusively breastfeed my daughter, and that's something that I've made up my mind for this time. And उस चीज के लिए I know for a fact that you need to be really, really, really vigilant about yourself in terms of your nutrition, in terms of your mental health, in terms of everything. Because all of these things, some way or the other, affect your milk supply, and that affects your baby, right? So I have been very particular this time around that I do not want to have any negative thought impact me the way that it did in my first pregnancy. And I want to tell you how my first pregnancy's postpartum was as well. Maybe in the next video I can talk about that. But this time I would say my postpartum till now hasn't been that bad as it was in my first pregnancy. And my first pregnancy's postpartum was bad because I was not in a good state mentally. This time I am an absolutely happy place mentally, physically, and I'm trying to train all of that positive energy to my daughter and to my son. And I'm just trying to be a mom that is there for her kids. And right now, my only aim for the next 6 months is to be there, is to be available for my kids. And that's all I want, because ये बार बार maternity leave तो मिलेगी नहीं ना. Where you can actually spend some time, quality time with your kids. And I got maternity leave within the span of 2 years. So मुझे almost एक साल का तो time मिल ही गया to spend with my kids, like the first 6 months in my first pregnancy and the 6 months. So मैंने ये तो पक्का सोच लिया that this time I'm going to make a good use of it. Put some really good time. I mean, spend some really good time with Vivan and Vanya. So if you are someone who is currently in this phase, crying randomly, feeling overwhelmed, feeling that you're not being heard, and when you look at yourself, you do not recognize yourself in the mirror, stop and know that you are not alone. This space, this whole space is just for moms like us, where we don't feel alone, where we get to share our stories to each other, our experiences. And remember, this is just a transitional phase, a phase where you become a better version of yourself. You're going to heal slowly, steadily. And remember, you do not have to bounce back as quickly as you think you should. Take your time. This is your time to be a mom. It's your journey of motherhood. Embrace it, enjoy it, because life is as it is. You are, anyways, going to get back to being a wife, a daughter, a professional. But this few days, few months of being a mom, the first few days are something that you're going to cherish forever. If this video made you feel seen in any way, please don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and